Welcome to the Top Choice Empowerment Show, where host Howard White will teach, inspire, motivate, and most of all, empower you. Now here's your host, Howard White.
Welcome to the Top Choice Empowerment Hour. I'm your host, Howard White, and for those of you who have joined in the first time, the Top Choice Empowerment Hour was born out of an idea or out of a thought of doing a radio show that would hopefully add value to the individuals that are listening. And from that, it took action. It took some action. And here we are in about week 8 of the Top Choice Empowerment Hour. And some of you may say, hey, the show is only 30 minutes. Why are you calling it the Top Choice Empowerment Hour? Well, simply say, number one, I speak it as it will be, because the 1st of March, we are actually moving to 1 hour. That's right, 1 hour. Some new and exciting things coming up. Going to have guests. We'll have time for guests to come in and add even more value to you in your drive time or as you get ready for work bright and early in the morning. One of the things I like to start the show with is a prayer. And it's a prayer that I say before I go on stage. I ask God, dear Heavenly Father, to allow me to be a river and not a reservoir. Allow things that have been poured into me to flow through me and be deposited where it can be best utilized. We ask this in our Son's name. Amen. All right. Well, as I said, hey, the Top Choice Empowerment Hour is really about empowering. And for the time that you share with me, hopefully I will teach you some, inspire you a little, motivate you some, but most of all, empower you to go out and seek and become the best you possible. Hey, right now we're going through a series of the P's, and first part of the show, we're going to just continue a little bit with that or recap that, and then we're going to touch on some goals, talking about goal setting and how do you get back on track. Because whether it was January the 1st, January the 2nd, December the 31st, a lot of us made those New Year's resolutions. And by the time you hear this, Valentine's Day will be over. And the question I ask you, are you out of love with your New Year's resolutions already? Are you off track? So we're going to talk a little bit about some strategies and some tips to get back on track and get back productive. I'm going to open today with a quote. If you would just think about this as we talk about productivity. An empty stable stays clean, but there is no income from an empty stable. All right, well, empty stable. Well, most people say, well, man, I don't have horses. I don't have a stable. Well, that's on any part of your life. Just think about it. A clean desk, if it's not being productive, does not produce any income. And you can substitute whatever you so choose into that. It does not produce income. And that's the way we should be. When you look at the word productivity, it comes from productive or being fertile. And that's what we should be. In order to be fertile, we must be active. We must produce. That's the other side of it. And that's the key part about it, is that you must look at producing. A lot of times people in life will say, hey, I'm working, I'm worth this. This is what I should be paid. But really in life, we were paid based on our outcome, the results that we deliver. And you think about that from another standpoint, you're actually paid less than what you actually deliver, because the person that's paying you have to make a profit. So they cannot pay you 100% of what you deliver. You're like, wow, you mean I'm getting paid less than I'm worth? Yeah, that's going to be the situation all the time. If you're in business for yourself, you should over deliver and under promise to all your clients. Deliver to your clients more than they're paying you. Just imagine how much more they're going to be willing to come back. In Louisiana, we have that phrase, a little lagniappe, a little something extra. Always strive to give a little something extra, no matter what you're doing, whether it's at work, whether it's at home, it's in school, give a little something extra. Whether it's in church, shout a little louder, give a little something extra. And that's the way we should be about life. And the person that gives a little something extra get a whole lot more extra. I'm going to repeat that again. The person that gives a little something extra gets a whole lot more extra. So, when you think about that, and what that means to me is that as we continually to give to people, you're going to have a whole lot of people giving back to you. And just imagine what that looks like. You're going to have people that you don't even know pouring into your life, giving to you because you're out there giving to other people. So I think that is something you should look at on a daily basis as you get up in the morning, and you should look at those things and say, who am I going to give to today? Who am I going to pour into today? What areas am I going to be productive? What areas am I going to be fertile, have fertile activities? And that's what we should look at. One of the keys to being productive is how do you manage your time? And that's something we talk a lot about. People say time management, and I really don't like that word time management personally, because it's more about priorities. How do you manage your priorities? When you look at it, what are the big things? What are the big things should I be doing in life? What should I be focusing on in this season? If you go back to that word fertile, and when you think about fertile soil, you think about a farmer. And a farmer look at the seasons and think about the seasons based on what crops are coming up next. In a few weeks, most farmers are going to be out planting seeds, putting seeds into the ground. And that is the best use of their time during that time frame. And then come summer, they're actually fertilizing and tilling the soil, making sure the grass don't choke out the upcoming plants. That's the best use of their time. And then fall is harvest time for certain crops. So that's something we should be looking at in our life. What should we be focusing on in order to maximize our productivity? What should we be focusing on to maximize our productivity? So just think about that a little bit as you drive in to work this morning, or you sit there. And if you're sitting there and have a sheet of paper, write that out. What should I be focusing on? And when I say truly focus, it should not be more than 3 different things that you focus on at one given season. One of the other things I want to talk about today is just give you a few benefits of truly being productive. Number one, it takes us out of that attitude of complacency. That's right. When you're productive, it takes you out of that attitude. And what I mean by it takes you out of the attitude, it really gets you moving. The law of momentum really kicks in. I always say that the most important step in your life is the next step. That's right, the next step. Because the sooner you take that next step, then you lead to the next step. And if you're doing it fast, all of a sudden you're often running toward your goals. You're being productive. And if you really laid out what your priorities are, man, you're getting a whole lot done. The other thing it does is it makes us conscious of time. We don't waste time. If you just write that down and then think about your last week, what were some of the time wasters you had? Just spending a lot of time on Facebook, a lot of time on various social media platforms without anything productive coming out of it. Conversations that you had that you should have walked away with at minute 1 versus minute 23. What did you really get out of that conversation? So it makes you conscious of time. What projects should you be working on? Or are you spending too much time on this project when you should be focusing on another project? It makes us conscious of time. It also makes us responsible for our abilities and ideas. Yeah, it does. It really does. When you're productive, you're responsible, and you're truly using your talents that God has given you. Also, those ideas and thoughts in your head, you're moving forward with them, because at the beginning of the day, it starts with a thought, and then the thought leads to action, and our actions become our habits. So when we're productive, the law of momentum is just wrapped all around it and in it. It really allows us to move forward and helps us continually to move on. When I talk about the law of momentum, you just think about your car. If the car is sitting still and you go out and try to push it, it takes a lot of force. If it's a big car, you may not even be able to do it by yourself. But now if the car is moving ever so slightly, you can come in and get it going faster, a lot easier, without a whole lot of effort. And that's the way productivity is. Once we get something started, it's a lot easier to move other things forward. And then the other thing it does is it gives us confidence and hope. When we see things happen, it gives us confidence. It allows us to build upon those successes. Successes build success, and allows us to build upon that foundation. Well, as you sit there, you say, well, Howard, I'm not going to all have success in my life all the time. You're right. And the great part about that is every failure means a step closer to the success of that goal. You just eliminated something that won't work. The key thing is to evaluate it and learn from it. That is the key thing. All right, a couple real quick steps, actually 4 quick steps on that you would actually follow to help increase your productivity. Earn your way through life. That's right, work. Things don't just happen. You got to work. You got to have action. You got to earn your way. One of the things that we mentioned earlier was that you're going to be paid for what you produce. And actually, if your production is 100%, you're going to get paid less than 100%. That's just the way it is. And we have to be comfortable with that. We should always have a mindset, I'm going to over-deliver and under-promise. Manage what you produce. That's right. Manage what you produce. Whatever it is that you own, you want to be able to manage it. You want to be the master of it. You want to utilize it to its fullest. whether it's financial resources, your personal resources, you want to manage it to its fullest. Be efficient. As entrepreneurs, a lot of times we get stuck in it that I have to do it, or I'm the only person that can do it. Stop it. Do not have that mentality. You're not the only person that can do it, and there are people out there that can do it better than you. Manage that process. Be efficient. Determine what you're best at. The rest, find people that can do it better. Initially, as good as is better, because that gives you time to really focus on the things that you're great at. Also, it gives you more time to be creative. So I want you to be efficient. And then lastly, learn to be organized. And that's an area of my life I struggle, is to become more organized. And that's something that, I'm working on personally. Actually hiring a coach, talking to someone about helping me with that, where I can become more structured, more organized. Because just imagine the amount of time we waste not being organized, not being able to find things when we want to find them, as soon as we want to find them. I mean, that's something that you need to be able to do in your life, in all areas of your life. All right, so let's sit back and think a little bit, and hopefully give you a couple tips that will help you be a lot more responsive. Number one, reflect and respond. How do you do that? Well, have you kept your position in life by being productive? Only you can answer that. Do you consider yourself a producer or a consumer? That's right, producer or consumer. Do you have a tendency to be overly organized or productively messy? I won't raise my hand on that one, but these are self-reflection questions. So those are just some things to think about from how do I increase my productivity? So I'm going to challenge you to go ahead and begin to think through those things and determine what it is that you must do to be a little more productive. We're talking about productivity. I promise you we'll talk about some things that help you get back on track. And before I go into that, one of the ways you can reach out to us, I'm often guilty. I get caught up into hopefully pouring value into you. I forget to tell you how to connect with us. Well, one of the best ways to do that is simply go to our Facebook page at teamtopchoice.com. Like our page. You can email me directly at howard@teamtopchoice.com. That's howard@teamtopchoice.com. And then also we got some exciting things coming up. We got one of our life classes coming up. It's a group life class. We call it the top of life, because that's where you want to be, at your top. And the key thing about that is your top. Then also we have an online series called Empowerment Mentoring. It's an ongoing class, lessons every 2 weeks that hopefully will teach you a little bit and inspire you, motivate you, and empower you, but most of all, empower you. And that's why we call it Top Choice Empowerment Mentoring. But you can connect with us either way on that, and our website is teamtopchoice.com. Hey, but let's get back into the lesson, what I promised you. So got to make sure we deliver on the promises. At the end of the year is a time when we'll often reflect and set goals. One of the things I challenge you is to look at your goals daily, evaluate them monthly, and rework them quarterly, because a lot of times people wait for the whole year, and then when you fall off track, you feel lost and don't become productive again until the start of a new year, which is not good. I mean, that's not good. Just think about it. If you fell off already right now, or if you're off track, I won't say you've fallen off, but you're off track and out of love with that goal, now's a great time to just reevaluate and get back on track. I'm gonna give you real quick 5 steps that things that I think may help you, 5 strategies. Number 1, ditch the routine. Whatever you're doing, change it up, mix it up, do something different. A lot of times when you're coaching, you got to line up, and as team go in a slump, you mix it up. You may not put the most talented person in there because the chemistry is better. So you want to mix it up, and that's what we want to do. You may have had a routine of getting up at a certain time. Try getting up earlier. Or if you're a night person, stay up later. Whatever it is that you're doing, change that routine and see what's happening with it. One of my goals this year was to watch less TV. I've started doing that. Caught myself the last couple weeks watching a little bit more than normal. So I'm actually putting sticky notes on my home TV. The phrase that says, do what you know and not what you feel. I know I shouldn't be watching TV, but the show feels good. So therefore, I need to do what I know and not what I feel. Exercise, get up and get moving. Something about exercising makes you feel a whole lot better, especially if you do it early in the morning. Just seems like your day goes a whole lot differently. They call them little endorphins, get to flowing in your body and just makes you feel better all day long. I mean, just get up and get moving. Just try something different. Do something for someone else. Give something. Volunteer. Get a different perspective. That's right. Do a good deed. When you do that, that tends to help you feel better about yourself. And also it gets us moving. It gets us moving. Clear your mind with the clutter. Often there's a lot of things going on in our mind, whether it's personal, finances, the things that we didn't do, the things that we should have done, the things we got to do. Write them down. Clear your mind. Get them out your mind. That's the main thing, is get them out your mind. When you get them out your mind, it frees you up to go and be productive. And then sometimes you just got to do, as Snaggerpuss would say, stage right. Take a whole different direction. That's right. Stage right. You're headed down, and if the way in which you're headed is not working for you, you're really in a slump, you might want to stage right and make sure that helps you get back on target and gives you a fresh mindset. Sometimes that stage right may be just taking a break. Go sit by the lake today. Hey, I'm going to be out of the office in meetings. You got a meeting with yourself. You should do that sometimes. So hopefully that'll help you get back on track. And as we talk about goals, I want to reiterate a couple things that we taught last year on goal setting. Number one, you want to make sure the goals are SMART goals. What does SMART stand for? Well, SMART stands for specific, measurable, obtainable, relevant, and time-bound. That's right. The goal must be specific. It must be something very specific. It must be measurable. You must be able to quantify when you reach it. Otherwise, if it doesn't have a definite address, how do you know when you get there? Your goal has to have that definite address. It must be attainable. Attainable doesn't mean it's easy. It's a stretch, but you can do it. It's within your realms of possibility, but it's a low probability that you can do it, because that means you're going to have to grow and stretch in order to make it happen, but it is possible. It must be relevant. It must be something that you desire. It must be something that you want. It cannot be someone else's goal. I often tell students when I talk to them, you got to be the best you. You can't be someone else. That person has to be them, and you got to be comfortable in your own skin. You got to be comfortable with being the best you possible. So it has to be relevant for you. And then it has to be time. You have to put a timeline on it. When am I going to get this? When am I going to do this? You want to make sure that you put a defined time, so therefore it's actually measurable. So you got to do that. And then the other thing about goals is they have to be written down. Yep, they have to be written down. You got to put them on paper, because if you don't, you will not achieve them. And that's something you should always do. Write them down. When you write them down, it frees up the mind to go and actually obtain that goal for you. So I challenge you to write them down. So if you didn't do that at the end of the year, or you just wrote out resolutions, let's break it down into SMART goals. If you need some help with that, just simply send me an email at howard@teamtopchoice, and I'll be glad to send you some information around that. I mentioned earlier, we are starting a Top of the Life class. It'll be here locally in Baton Rouge, and we will be doing one virtually a little later in March. But we walk through a lot of the goal setting and identifying your values. And some of the questions you want to ask yourself, as we started doing that, is, of all the things that I do, what is something that I do more of? When you started seeking of what your values are and where you're headed at in life, and then what things am I doing less of? And typically those are the things that you don't like doing. Also, what do I need to start doing? Wow, what do I need to start doing? What do I need to, more importantly, stop doing? Who do I need to put on my do not call list? I was joking with someone. I said, in your phone, you should have people in front of people names that say DNA, do not answer, because those are some of those folks that drain you. Literally code that, so when that pops up on the phone, you can hit reject and allow it to go to voicemail. But you want to be careful about who you allow in your life as you move through this journey. Also, you want to ask yourself, what am I best at? What is it that I'm really great at? And you want to be great at some things. People are known and remembered for greatness, not goodness, or averageness, or mediocreness. So focus on the things that you're great at. That's what you should be doing. What do I best serve at? Yes, you should develop a servant mentality. When you have a servant mentality and an attitude of gratitude, life is a whole lot better. A whole lot better. Just imagine waking up every day giving thanks for all those things that God has blessed you with versus complaining about the things that you don't have. So I would challenge you to have an attitude of gratitude. And then the final question as we look at it is, what am I missing? It's not more so to complain about, but an evaluation of, hey, what is it that I need? What skill sets I don't have? What things will best serve me? If I went and learned this or developed this area, who can I better help with that? And one of my areas is organization, being more organized. I know as I move and master that, world watch out. Y'all gonna be scared of Howard, really scared of Howard. And I mean that in a good way, because I'll be able to do even more than I'm doing now. So I challenge you to say, what am I missing? Well, as we get ready to close out, I want to make sure that you remember to focus on your goals. So first of all, just to recap, you got to write them down. You want to make them SMART. SMART goals. That's right. SMART stands for specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time bound. So you want to do those things with your goals. And by doing those things with your goals, you're more likely to obtain them. And we're going to talk next week a lot more about prioritizing. That's right. Prioritizing. That's a key part to goal setting. So when you talk about prioritizing and you have a goal, you want to identify why. Why is that goal important? I challenge you, for every goal that you've written out, to identify 3 whys for those goals. And you can email me your goals. I'll be glad to help you with it. I enjoy doing that. If you email them to me at Howard@Team Top Choice, we get back with you within 72 hours in general, 48 to 72 hours, just depending on the schedule and travel. But once again, it's not just what, it's why. I want you to answer that. Is why is this goal important to me? You ask that relevancy question, why? And 3 whys, if you can sit down and write 3 whys out for each one of your goals, the chances of obtaining that goal increases dramatically. So I challenge you to do those things, and I promise you, when we get back together next week, you're going to be in a whole lot better place moving forward towards those things that you desire in life, to become the person that you want to be and that God has destined you to become. So until the next time, I challenge you to continue to live life and live it on top. Once again, this is Howard White with the Top Choice Empowerment Hour, and continue to move forward.
You've made the top choice. Like Howard on Facebook @Team Top Choice, and receive more tips that will help increase your productivity. And remember, Howard helps others win and realize dreams.